Paddy the Baddy Pimblett is very well known in the UFC. We all know that he's also been aiming to be popular outside the octagon as well. The fighter is already a shining star in the UFC and has the capabilities to shine even brighter, just like Conor McGregor. Both these fighters aren't afraid of speaking their minds, and Paddy just shared his thoughts on the Paul brothers, and let's see what it's all about. So first up, Paddy the Baddy and his fight against Prime Hydration. The UFC star from Liverpool uploaded a video to his Instagram account where he's promoting his sports drink, Body Fuel by Applied Nutrition. Does this remind you of something? That's right, Paddy the Pimblett is making a massive commercial move with his sponsored sports drink, much like Logan Paul has been doing with Prime Hydration. And while promoting Body Fuel by Applied Nutrition, the Scouse fighter trashed Logan's Prime Hydration at the same time. He compared the two drinks while claiming his is much better than Prime Hydration. Paddy talks about how Prime has 2 grams of sugar while his drink has none, making it great for kids. This man is a marketing genius, especially with his very charismatic and out-there personality. You just can't love the guy. He also says Body Fuel has fewer calories and electrolytes like Prime and calls it the perfect blend with just the right amount your body can absorb. We don't think Logan Paul would appreciate Paddy insulting his $5 billion golden goose that is Prime, and we're yet to hear a response from the celebrity boxer, but you can't deny how much attention Paddy is getting from this. The Pimblett then says Applied Nutrition has actual scientists working behind it, while the Paul brothers don't even have a single brain cell combined. Then he grabs a Prime bottle and throws it away. This UFC star has no chill, and we love it. Next, one Scouse Pimblett versus the 2 Paul brothers. When you talk about people who aren't afraid to pick a fight with people, you can't help but talk about Paddy the Baddy Pimblett. This brave young man will fight anyone, anywhere if he can. In a post-match interview, Paddy even said Scouse people don't get knocked out. You can tell how proud he is of himself and his people. It's also probably why he can be so fearless in picking fights with both Jake and Logan Paul at the same time. Jake challenged the Baddy to spar with him at his gym in Puerto Rico, and the winner gets $1 million. Paddy has his own conditions for the spar with Jake, but overall, he does seem pretty ready to take him on, regardless of the weight gap between the two. Paddy fights at 155 pounds, while Jake fights at 195 pounds. We all know that won't stop the Pimblett, but maybe his contract with the UFC can get in his way. While it's true that the UFC star might not be fighting any of the 2 Paul brothers in a ring or a gym anytime in the near future, their online feuds and commercial battles between both parties have been so entertaining to watch. And it'll even be economically good for everyone involved since they're all getting so much attention. So who knows how long this will go on for? We, for one, can't wait to see what happens next. Coming up, Paddy the Baddy thinks Jake is only bluffing with his sparring challenge. In a recent interview, Paddy talked about Jake being a good boxer, but at the same time has also accused him of fixing fights, which is probably why the UFC boxer thinks the celebrity boxer is making a bluff with the sparring challenge. Obviously, this was something that Jake Paul noticed and ended up posting a video on his Instagram account offering the Pimblett $1 million if he could beat the American in a sparring match. But if Jake wins, Paddy the Baddy would have to join Jake Paul's United Fighters Association and help him recruit fighters. Paddy told Jake to come to Las Vegas where he can arrange the sparring session, but Jake responded by telling him to fly out to his gym in Puerto Rico after his fight at UFC 282. The YouTuber turned celebrity boxer even offered to send the Pimblett a private jet. Paddy talked about it in a video later where he says he'll spar Jake anytime and anywhere, but that'll only happen once Jake puts the money in escrow. To make sure there's a third party involved that'll hold the money and distribute it based on the conditions of the agreement. Paddy also talked about the weight difference here and said Jake only wants to fight on his own terms and not on an even playing field. And he still says he could drop Jake on his head and kick him in the face if he really wanted to. All that being said though, for now, Paddy has his eyes set on more than just sparring a celebrity boxer, as he's set to fight at the lightweight co-main event at UFC 282 against Jared Gordon. So the sparring session might have to wait for a little while. Now for Paddy tells UFC fighters they're embarrassing themselves by calling him out. At this point, you could say nearly every fighter in the UFC scene has been calling the Scouse Baddy out to fight them in the octagon. We're sure Paddy understands that all these fighters just want the opportunity to be in the same ring with a big name that's as big as Paddy the Baddy Pimblett, hailing from Liverpool. But the only thing the English fighter has to say to all these fine gentlemen is for them to just move on calling him out already. Other than that, Jake Paul the Pimblett has been called out to fight by UFC fighters such as Terrence McKinney, Ilia Topuria, Matt Frivola, Willa, Drew Dober, and the list goes on and on. Need we say more? The Paddy Pimblett has apparently heard enough by now, though, and he is telling these UFC challengers to just give up already. He had an interview recently with ESPN where he was emulating Conor McGregor. He talked about how most of these UFC lightweight fighters must probably have posters of Paddy the Pimblett put up on their walls since they can't seem to stop talking about him. Makes sense to us. Paddy said there's people going on and on about him on social media, to which he only has one thing to say. He's telling them all to do something with their lives and to stop talking about him publicly just to get noticed by more people. He really thinks all these people are only chasing clout and not really him. And maybe he's right, you know. We can't really be sure unless we see how this unfolds in the future. Let's talk about one of these challengers next up. Up next, Terrence McKinney wants a piece of Paddy the Paddy. Paddy wasn't surprised at all when he heard UFC fighter Terrence McKinney was calling him out to fight in an interview right after his win at UFC Vegas 59. But Paddy knows Terrence just wants more attention and clout by being involved with the Scouse fighter. At UFC San Diego, Paddy talked about how everyone wants to fight a name as big as his these days. He talked about how Terrence McKinney has less than 100,000 followers, while he has nearly 2 million followers. You have to admit that is a pretty big difference. That's why he says Terrence and the others want to fight him, but he also added that he's a pretty scary guy and that they shouldn't take him lightly, even though he admits he isn't the most intimidating person. But we've all seen how well he does in the ring. Paddy said he and Terrence actually talked over Twitter about fighting a few years later, when it's a big card or like a main event. Paddy says Terrence only saw his fame and wanted clout by being involved with him. We think it's safe to say their fight won't be happening anytime soon. Looks like Terrence and the others are gonna have to build up their followers list a little before Paddy will pay them any attention. Not to mention, Paddy the Baddy wants to take on legend Conor McGregor. The English UFC star might have been called out by multiple fighters he doesn't see as worthy enough to fight him, but who does he have his eyes set on? That's right, the Pimblett wants to clash against MMA legend Conor McGregor. In a UFC 282 interview, Paddy talked about how he has a lot of respect for Conor McGregor because of how much the Irish fighter has done for MMA and how much everyone wants to fight him. Paddy compared himself to McGregor, talking about how everyone wants to fight him now too. The Scouse fighter also talked about how it'll be the biggest pay-per-view ever in the history of UFC, and he may just be right about that. It's no doubt both Paddy and Conor are both huge stars in the UFC scene, and the whole world would definitely tune in and pay to see these two legends go at each other. Who knows which fighter Paddy will end up fighting next? Whoever it is, we know it's gonna be entertaining for sure. Well, that's a wrap for this video, so who do you think deserves to fight Paddy the Pimblett? Let us know in the comments below. Also, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. We'll see you in the next one.